Let me tell you something, my friend. Growing old isn't the problem. Getting old is natural. It's part of the deal. The real challenge begins when you find yourself alone. The kids have moved away, your spouse is gone, friends have passed or drifted off, and the house you once filled with noise and laughter now sits too quiet. You start to feel invisible, like the world just kept on spinning and forgot to take you along. That right there is the tough part. I've lived through it. I've sat in that stillness, and I want to share something that might just keep your heart from falling into misery. If you're old and alone, do this every single day to stay happy. I don't say that lightly. The first thing you need to do is wake up with purpose. I know it's tempting to lie in bed and let the day pass without you. Some mornings your bones ache, your mind is foggy, and there's no one waiting for you in the kitchen. That kind of silence can feel like a heavy coat draped over your soul. But you must get up, sit on the edge of the bed, take a deep breath, thank the heavens or whatever you believe in for another shot. Then get your feet on the floor and start moving, even if it's slow, even if your knees complain. That movement is a small act of defiance against loneliness. It tells the world, and more importantly, it tells yourself, I still matter. Once you're up, I want you to make your bed. That might sound like a small thing, but it matters. Making your bed is a quiet way of saying, today I choose to care. And that's the first crack in the wall of loneliness. That tiny act of order, of dignity, can lead to the next one. Maybe you open the curtains and let in the light. Maybe you brew yourself a proper cup of coffee or tea and sit with it. Not like you're rushing through the morning, but like you're honoring it. Here's something you won't hear in all those cheery brochures about aging. The days can be long. The silence can feel endless. And you can start to feel like you're fading. But I found that the trick is to fill the day with small, deliberate actions. Rituals, habits, even when there's no one watching, especially when there's no one watching. One of the most important things I started doing every day was writing letters. Not emails, not texts, actual letters. Pen to paper. I wrote to my grandchildren, to old friends I hadn't spoken to in years, to neighbors, to myself. I told stories. I shared memories. I asked how they were. I didn't always get replies. That didn't matter. What mattered was that for those few moments I was reaching out, creating connection, and that connection, however small, kept my spirit alive. Another thing you must do is move your body. I'm not talking about running marathons. I mean, get outside if you can. Feel the sun on your face, walk down the block, sit in the park, feed the birds, watch people go by, smile at them, say hello, even if they don't respond. It reminds you that you're still part of the human race. If you can't walk far, stretch your arms, move your legs. Dance slowly in the kitchen to an old song. Whatever you can manage. Just don't let your body go stiff from stillness. Your body may be older, yes, but it still wants to be used. It still wants to carry you through the world. Let me tell you something else that's important. Talk to someone every day, every single day. I don't care if it's the mailman, the grocery clerk, your neighbor's dog, or the picture of your wife on the wall. Use your voice. It keeps your heart from caving in. If you don't know who to call a local charity and ask if they need someone to chat with other lonely folks. You'd be amazed how many people are just like you, sitting by the phone, wishing it would ring. I made friends that way, real friends. Friends I'd never met in person, but who made my days lighter just by hearing my voice and letting me hear theirs. And let me be honest with you. There were days I didn't feel like doing any of this. There were days I felt like a ghost, like I was just waiting for the end. And on those days, I forced myself to find one small thing to look forward to. Just one. A favorite meal, a crossword puzzle, a new book, watching the sunset, something. That little glimmer, however faint, helped me climb out of that dark hole. You've got to find those sparks, my friend, even on the days when your heart feels heavy as stone. Now, this next part might sound silly, but I mean it. Laugh every day, even if nothing's funny, especially then. Find a silly show, watch old comedies, read a joke. Laugh at yourself when you spill the soup or put the remote in the fridge. Life will give you 100 reasons to cry. You've got to find a few reasons to laugh. It reminds you that joy hasn't left the room. It's just waiting to be invited back in. Let me also tell you what not to do. Don't sit staring at the wall. Don't drown yourself in the news. Don't scroll endlessly through social media wishing your life looked like someone else's. Don't wait for someone to rescue you from the loneliness. No one is coming to save you. You must save yourself, one small act at a time. And you can do it. I know because I did. I was there. I was the old man sitting in a silent house, thinking it was too late. And then one morning I got up and made some toast and told myself, today I will try. That's all it took to begin. You don't have to change your life overnight. You just have to change your day. This day, right now. If you do something today that lifts your spirit, you've already won. Call a friend. Write a letter. Stretch your legs. Sit in the sun. Smile at a stranger. Feed a stray cat. Listen to your favorite song. Sing it out loud even if your voice cracks like a rusty gate. That's life. Beautiful, flawed, noisy life. And let me say something else from one old soul to another. Don't hold on to bitterness. That grudge, that regret, that hurt, let it go. I carried anger for years. It made me lonelier than any empty room ever did. Forgive people. Forgive yourself. Not because they deserve it, because you do. Because you deserve peace. Because you deserve to sleep at night without carrying yesterday's weight on your chest. You're not done yet. You're not invisible. You still have wisdom to share. You still have value. You still have love to give. And if no one is knocking on your door, then you knock on theirs. Bake something and give it away. Share your stories. Join a local group. Volunteer. Teach someone how to sew. Read to children at the library. Even just sitting on your porch and waving to people can make a difference. You think these small things don't matter. They do. They ripple out. They connect you to the world again. And if the nights get hard, and sometimes they will, don't lie there in the dark listening to your thoughts go in circles. Get up. Light a candle. Look at old photos. Say a prayer. Write in a journal. Cry if you need to. But don't stay in that pit. Get up again the next morning. Do it all again. Slowly, kindly, steadily. Every day is a chance to feel a little more alive. Every day is a page in the story you're still writing. Don't close the book yet. There's more to tell, more to feel, more to give. So when you're old and alone, do this every day. Love your day. Care for it like a garden. Fill it with small, meaningful moments. Reach out even when it's hard. Move your body even when it's stiff. Speak even when no one replies. Laugh even when it hurts. Forgive even when it feels impossible. You're still here. That means something. That means everything. Now let's clear some common questions. What happens when you stop waiting for others to bring you happiness and instead create it yourself through daily choices? Let me tell you something I learned the hard way, through years of waiting and wondering. When you're old and the days stretch long and quiet, you start to believe that happiness is something that has to come from outside. You think someone has to call you, someone has to visit, something has to happen. You wait for the doorbell to ring. You hope the phone lights up. You sit at the window watching cars pass and imagine one of them might stop. And when none of it happens, you start to shrink inside yourself. You start to feel like happiness is a thing that belongs to other people. Younger people, busier people, people with full homes and loud families and places to be. But I'm here to tell you the truth, a hard truth. The waiting will wear you down. It will turn hope into heaviness. But something powerful happens when you stop waiting for others to bring you happiness and decide to create it yourself. That moment changed my life. It didn't happen in a flash. It happened slowly, quietly, but it was real, and it was mine. I remember the morning that shift began. I was sitting at the kitchen table, nursing a cup of coffee that had gone cold. It was one of those gray mornings, not stormy, just still. My wife had been gone a few years by then. The kids lived states away. I hadn't had a visitor in weeks, and I sat there feeling like I didn't exist, like the world had moved on and left me behind. I kept staring at the phone, like maybe if I stared long enough, someone would know I needed to hear from them. But the phone didn't ring, and that's when something inside me whispered, not in words, but in feeling. It said, "You're still here. You can still live, even now. It wasn't loud, but it was clear. That day I made a choice, a small one. I stood up, I cleaned the kitchen, I opened every curtain in the house and let the light flood in. I went outside and stood in the sun for a few minutes. I didn't wait for anyone to tell me it was a good idea. I didn't need a reason, I just did it. That small act of moving on my own, for my own sake, sparked something. It wasn't joy, not yet, but it was movement. It was life. And that's when I started to understand something I wish I'd known sooner. Happiness doesn't come knocking on your door like a surprise visitor. It lives in the choices you make when nobody else is watching. From then on, I made it a practice. I didn't have to climb mountains. I didn't need grand adventures. I just needed to build a life out of small joys that I gave myself permission to enjoy. Every morning I got up and made my bed. I cooked a proper breakfast, even if it was just me eating. I played music I liked. I danced a little in the kitchen. Some days my knees didn't like that part, but I laughed anyway. I started writing letters again, not emails, actual letters. I'd sit and write to people I hadn't heard from in years. Sometimes they wrote back, sometimes they didn't. That wasn't the point. The point was that I was reaching out, not waiting. I began to walk every day. Some days it was just to the mailbox and back. Other days I made it around the block. I waved at people. I smiled even if they didn't smile back. Slowly the world started to open up. Not because it had changed, but because I had. I wasn't waiting anymore. I was living. I started talking to the neighbors more. I brought soup to the woman down the street when she lost her dog. I helped a kid fix his bike. None of these things were earth-shaking, but they filled me with a kind of light I hadn't felt in years. You see, when you create your own happiness through daily choices, you stop giving your power away. You stop making your well-being dependent on someone else's schedule. And what you find is that you are capable of so much more than you thought. You are not a burden. You are not forgotten. You are a human being with the power to shape your own days. That realization gave me strength. Not the kind that comes from lifting weights, the kind that comes from lifting your own spirit out of the dark. Now let's be honest, some days are still hard. There are mornings when the house feels too quiet. There are moments when memories hit me like a wave, and I have to sit down and let the tears come. But I don't stay there, because I know now that I can do something about it. I can cook something warm, I can take a walk, I can call someone, I can play that old record that always makes me smile. I don't need the world to change for me to feel alive. I just need to remember that every day is a chance to make a choice. A small one, a kind one, a brave one. I think the biggest shift is this. When you wait for others to bring you happiness, you live in a kind of pause. Life starts to feel like something that's happening far away, and you're just sitting on the sidelines. But when you start creating it yourself, suddenly you're in the middle of the story again. You're not just watching life go by, you're in it. And that brings a kind of peace that no visitor or phone call can ever give you. Because it's yours, it's built from your hands, your heart, your choices. So if you're sitting alone, thinking it's too late, let me tell you something from a man who thought the same thing. It's not too late. You are still here, and that means something. Don't wait another day for someone else to light the fire. You light it with a kind word to yourself, with a walk in the sun, with a song, with a cup of tea enjoyed slowly and fully, with a letter, with a smile to a stranger. It all matters. It all adds up. You are the author of these days. Make them count, not for anyone else's approval, but for you, because you're worth it. And that's not something to wait for. That's something to claim. Today, right now. How do you forgive yourself for past regrets or missed chances? And why is that act of letting go so essential for finding peace in solitude? Let me tell you something that took me most of my life to understand. Forgiving yourself is not some soft idea floating around in a book or a quote that sounds nice on paper. It's real work. It's soul work. And when you're old, sitting alone with your thoughts, it becomes one of the most important things you'll ever do. Because regrets, they don't knock politely. They break in. They sit across the table from you every morning and whisper about all the things you should have done differently. The words you didn't say, the risks you didn't take, the love you didn't show enough. And if you're not careful, those whispers grow louder than your will to live peacefully. That's why I want to talk to you about forgiving yourself. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary, especially when you are walking through the quiet of your later years, and your only companion is the echo of your own mind. I spent a long time carrying things I didn't have to carry. I thought I was supposed to. Like if I kept punishing myself for my mistakes, it somehow proved I was sorry enough. But let me tell you, there's no peace in punishment. There's only more pain. You don't heal by hurting. You heal by facing it. You sit with your mistakes. You name them. You don't run from them. I remember nights I sat in the dark, thinking about my kids, the times I yelled when I should have listened, the birthdays I missed because work felt too important, the phone calls I didn't return, the way I let pride or fear decide for me. I thought about friendships I let drift away, about how I didn't tell my father I forgave him before he died. Regrets like that don't just disappear. They sit in the chest like stones. But here's the thing. One morning I looked in the mirror and I saw not just an old man, but a tired man, tired from holding it all in. And I said to myself, is this how you want to spend what time you have left? And that question hit me like a wave, because I realized I wasn't going to get another lifetime to fix everything. I wasn't going to get a second run at being a father or a husband or a friend. But I still had this moment, this day. And maybe, just maybe, I could find some peace in it if I finally let go of the weight I was carrying. So I started small. I wrote letters I never intended to send. I wrote to my younger self. I wrote to the people I hurt. I told them the truth. I told them I wished I had done better. I told them I was sorry. And then I forgave that man in the mirror. Not because he was perfect, but because he was human, because he tried, because he didn't know then what he knows now. And neither do you. We all make decisions based on the understanding we have at the time. You do the best you can with the tools you have. That doesn't mean you get to avoid the consequences, but it does mean you don't have to spend forever in a prison of shame. Forgiving yourself is not saying what you did was right. It's saying, I will not let this define who I am now. It's saying, I choose peace over punishment, and you need that peace when you're alone. You need to be able to sit in your own silence without drowning in it. You need to be able to look back on your life and say, I didn't do it all right, but I loved. I tried, I learned. That kind of honesty is what turns regret into wisdom. That's the beauty of getting old. You finally have the time to sort through it all, to hold each memory in your hands and say, I see you, I forgive you, I release you. There's no shortcut to this. It takes courage. Some days you might cry more than you talk. Some nights you might lie awake, wondering if it's even possible to feel whole again. But I promise you, it is. Not through forgetting, but through accepting. Acceptance is the bridge between pain and peace. You accept that you can't change the past. You accept that the people you hurt may never forgive you. You accept that some chances are gone for good. And then you breathe. You breathe and say, even so, I will not keep hurting myself. Letting go is not weakness, it is strength. It is choosing to unclench your fists and stop swinging at ghosts. It is choosing to water the garden you still have instead of mourning the one you neglected. And when you do that, when you forgive yourself, something beautiful happens. You start to feel lighter. Your days begin to soften. You laugh a little more. You notice the sky again, the taste of your coffee, the sound of birds. The quiet doesn't feel so punishing. It starts to feel peaceful, like a warm blanket instead of a cold void. I want you to know this. You are not the worst thing you've done. You are not the moment you failed. You are not the person you were when you didn't know better. You are still becoming, even now. And every act of self-forgiveness is an act of becoming whole. You can sit with your past without letting it poison your present. You can speak to yourself kindly, the way you'd speak to someone you love, because you deserve that kindness too. So when the regrets come knocking, don't slam the door. Let them in. Sit with them. Ask them what they came to teach you. Then thank them for the lesson and let them go. You don't need to keep their bags in your living room. You have a life to live, a peace to claim, even if it's just you and the silence, especially then. Forgiveness is the key that turns loneliness into solitude. It transforms your aloneness into a sanctuary instead of a sentence. And if you ever wonder if it's too late, let me be the one to tell you it's not. As long as you're breathing, there's still time to make peace with yourself. There's still time to say, I forgive you. Say it out loud. Say it until you believe it. Then live the rest of your days in the freedom of that truth. Not because everything was perfect, but because you decided it no longer had to be. What is the quiet strength that comes from living alone? And how can embracing it lead to a deeper, more content kind of joy in your later years? There's a kind of strength that doesn't shout. It doesn't wear medals or win trophies. It doesn't make the papers or draw applause. It doesn't march into rooms or declare itself to the world. This kind of strength is quieter, steadier, the kind that grows over time like roots digging deep into the earth. You only really start to feel it when you've lived long enough, seen enough, and been left with your own company. That's the strength I'm talking about. The quiet strength that comes from living alone. It's not easy at first. It can feel like being dropped into a still lake with no ripples, no voices, and no distractions. But if you stay with it long enough, if you stop trying to escape it, something remarkable begins to happen. You find something deeper, a kind of joy that doesn't come from noise or company or even success. It comes from within. It comes from knowing who you are without needing anyone else to confirm it. I didn't always see it this way. When my house first went quiet, it felt like a loss. Not just the absence of people, but the absence of meaning. After my wife passed and the kids moved on with their lives, I'd wake up in the morning and wonder what the day was even for. I'd shuffle around the kitchen making coffee for one. No more voices down the hall, no footsteps, no reason to cook a big breakfast or keep the TV low. I was just there, alone. And that kind of quiet doesn't feel strong. At first it feels like weakness, like life shrinking around you. But that's the thing about silence. It holds space for truth, and if you sit in it long enough, it starts to show you what's real. I remember one morning, I was sitting at the table staring at my hands. I had nothing urgent to do, no one to check in on, and I felt this wave of sadness roll through me. But instead of reaching for the radio or the phone or trying to busy myself, I just sat with it. I didn't fight it. I let it pass through like a storm. And when it cleared, I noticed something. I was still here, still breathing, still standing. I had survived grief, I had endured heartache, and I was still living. That's when I realized that being alone doesn't mean being broken. It means being able to hold yourself up when there's no one else around. That is strength, not loud strength, not the kind you show off, but the kind that keeps you grounded when everything else changes. Living alone teaches you things no other life can. It teaches you how to sit with your thoughts and not run from them. It teaches you how to listen to your own heartbeat and trust it. It teaches you how to be your own company. And that's not a small thing. It's not sad, it's sacred. Because when you stop needing the world to entertain or validate you, you start seeing beauty in places you used to overlook. You find joy in making your own cup of tea, in folding your laundry just the way you like, in walking through your neighborhood and waving at strangers who slowly become familiar faces. You don't rush through the day, you savor it. You don't measure your value by how full your house is. You measure it by how full your heart feels when you sit in your favorite chair as the sun pours in through the window. There's a freedom in solitude that few people understand until they live it. You get to live by your own rhythm. You get to wake when your body's ready, eat when you're hungry, dance in the living room without embarrassment. You start to listen more closely to the world around you. Birds become old friends. The sound of the rain on the roof feels like a lullaby. You're not distracted by the noise of constant company. You are present, fully. And from that presence, contentment grows. That doesn't mean it's always easy. There are days when loneliness creeps in, when you miss the sound of another voice, when you'd give anything just to hear someone call your name. But those moments pass. And the more you embrace your solitude, the less those moments take from you. Because you've built something stronger beneath the silence. You've built resilience. You've built a relationship with yourself that doesn't fall apart when others are absent. You become the person you can rely on. And that's a beautiful thing. People often think that happiness comes from others, that it has to be given. But the older I get, the more I see that true happiness comes from within, from knowing yourself, from being able to sit in a quiet room and not feel empty. That's not loneliness, that's peace. And once you've tasted that peace, you stop chasing the world for joy. You realize you can create it, right there in your home, with a warm meal, with a familiar book, with the rhythm of your own breath as you fall asleep at night. So if you find yourself alone in your later years, don't see it as the end of something. See it as the beginning of a different kind of life, one where your time is your own, where your choices reflect your heart, where you are not pulled in a dozen directions, but grounded in one, your own. That's where the quiet strength lies, not in doing more, but in being more, in being fully yourself, unapologetically, completely, with all your stories, with all your scars, with all your grace. And here's the secret. That kind of strength becomes a light, not a spotlight, but a soft glow, the kind that warms others when they sit with you. Because people can feel it. They sense that you are not desperate to be filled. You are already whole. That makes you comforting to be around. And slowly, without even trying, your solitude becomes a gift, not just to yourself, but to those who get to share a little of it. You teach them by your presence, by your peace. So if you're living alone, embrace it. Don't fight the silence. Learn from it. Lean into it. There's strength in those quiet days. There's joy in those simple routines. And there's a kind of contentment that no noise in the world can replace. You just have to be still long enough to find it. And when you do, you'll know exactly what I mean. If you like today's discussion, don't forget to like the video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to stay updated with every video we release. And yes, don't forget to share your experiences and thoughts in the comments. Every comment is special to us. Your feedback helps us improve further. We'll continue to meet you in every new video on this channel. So until next time, take care.